Did you say it?
I wish the goblins would come and take you away. Right now.
I wish you would take him to Goblin City, Sarah says. She wanted to be free. She wanted to really experience special love instead of that unconditional love. Until all of a sudden her wish came true and the ego appeared because of her belief in the ego. Welcome back to another episode of Through the Lens with your favorite trauma coach, Ashley. Today we are going on a trip, so strap yourself in. Today's trip is all the way back to 1986 with the Labyrinth. David Bowie. It just so happens that I've been wanting to do this video, and this week was his anniversary of his death on the 10th, and it would have been his 77th birthday on the 8th of January. Okay, Labyrinth. Labyrinth is a beautiful representation of this internal dialogue projected outwards in Sarah's reality and her constant battle of the ego and spirit and how she chooses spirit and how in the end spirit always prevails. But it is a super beautiful depiction of this process that I think we're also able to relate to and immediately feel this just connection with Sarah, because we're all constantly there and subconsciously we know that. Let's get started. We start off the movie, of course, with Sarah really loving the Goblin King, and she wishes she could be the princess, and she reads the books and she acts it out and all the things. And then all of a sudden she has to watch her brother, so she can't continue to act as though she is the princess with the Goblin King. But in fact, she wishes that goblins would come and take her brother away so that she could continue to reminisce and dream about experiencing this special love with the Goblin King. But what she doesn't realize is it's almost like her brother signifies that inner child. As a child, we remember the unconditional love. We practice unconditional love. We show it, but we just cannot wait until the day we become an adult so that we can experience all of this special love that all of the other adults are experiencing, which is maybe with another human being or with a career or purchasing items, having their own house, not having to answer anyone. All the list goes on as to special love that has anything to do with placing your happiness backpack outside of yourself. We know that. Okay, so she requests that the goblins would come and take her brother away, come and take her inner child away. Some would say this is a movie of innocence, but come and take her inner child away, and boom, it happens in a split second. Her belief in the Goblin King, her belief in the ego creates it to be real. I think that's a key concept here that we all often forget, is that the ego is only real due to the belief you have in it, due to the weight you allow it to have in your life and the truth that you create. It only exists out of our perception of it existing. So here's Jareth, David Bowie. I will try to refer to him as Jareth, but David Bowie, it's really hard not to say David. So here he is, and he's like, all right, I did exactly what you wanted. I took your brother. Now you're saying you want him back? And what I see in that moment is that Sarah, the second she realized that, oh my gosh, the grass isn't greener on the other side, meaning unconditional love is an amazing, beautiful place of curiosity and wonder. And now, boom, I'm in special love. The ego has provided me it because I asked for it, and it is not what it's all cracked up to be. So she immediately wants it back. But the problem is she has all of these webs to untangle within her mind that are now in the way of her fully being in spirit, and that is projected out in the representation of the actual labyrinth. We see it's this maze of interactions and adventures and her questioning and her believing and back and forth, when really it's her own internal dialogue occurring. We're just seeing it projected out. Just like I talk about for us in this stream, we are constantly projecting out what is the internal dialogue of the mind, and then we interact with it because it's too uncomfortable to keep it within. And that is what has happened with Sarah here. This also reminds me of the statement, be careful what you wish for. We're told that as kind of like a joke or an after the matter, right? When you say, oh, I wish I had time off, and then all of a sudden you're super sick and you're like, oh my gosh, that's not what I meant. But the truth is, it's a reminder that when we are constantly seeking these things outside of us, it's never found there. It's always within. To me, that is what be careful what you wish for actually is a meaning of. As we go through this labyrinth, I mean, we're able to immediately see that Sarah is in this place of spirit the majority of the time. As soon as she realized what it's like to be in the ego's domain, she has done everything to shift herself back to spirit. But the really cool piece with that is that because she is in spirit, she is able to see spirit in others. She's able to see the reflection. So Hoggle, for example, I think that's his name, Hoggle. She's able to see the reflection of spirit in everyone. And on multiple occasions, we see Hoggle is working with the ego, is working with Jareth on trying to deceive her and lead her back to the beginning and not allow her to this place of unconditional love. But she doesn't acknowledge it as that. She does not acknowledge anything, any sort of impact on her, meaning she's not acknowledging the effect. And if you do not have an effect, there is no cause. And then what was the cause ceases to exist. So Hoggle sees himself sinning or committing acts that he feels shame and guilt for. We see that. He's like, I can't help you, Sarah. I tried to do X, Y, and Z to you. I was going to lead you the other way. I lied to you, all these things. And Sarah's like, no, I forgive you, Hoggle. And what she's doing in that moment is she's saying, Hoggle, you didn't sin because there was no effect. I do not blame you for where I am. And in that, he is able to receive the forgiveness and release himself and then step into this place of spirit with Sarah where he's like, yeah, I'm going to defy the ego with you. I am going to go against everything Jareth has asked me because I believe in you. You are my friend. And what Hoggle is really experiencing is the unconditional love that Sarah is showing him. And that is what our goal is here, friend, is to get to that place of unconditional love where no longer is anything external to blame how we feel internal. And we remove the effect, which in turn removes the cause, because there cannot be a cause if there is not an effect, and vice versa, which is that of sin, which is that of us believing we are doing things to harm others. We can't do that when we are not separate. And that is what Sarah really reiterates with Hoggle. She also, I can't remember the big fluffy, I'll show a picture right now, guy's name, but he seems scary and big and oh my gosh, these other things are attacking him. And Sarah instead sees the love in his eyes and she's like, hey, calm yourself down. No, you can trust me. And she continues to do this over and over again with the, I don't know what he is, a fox, a skunk, and he rides the dog, him as well. She's like, hey, no, we're not gonna go there. I'm not going to entertain your attack. I'm gonna meet your attack with love. And every time she does this is when she is able to move through that blockade in the labyrinth or the confusion in the labyrinth or the ability to see another way. Oh my gosh, if you did not see the references to perception, we could do a whole video just on perception for the movie Labyrinth because it really is about that. But for today, it's about her ability to shift her perception from that of fear to that of love. And every time she does that, she's able to find a random door or answer the right question or ask the right question. I mean, the little dog or the little skunk on the dog, the thing was nobody ever asked his permission. Everybody just fought him and met his attack with attack instead of meeting his attack with love and finding out, what is the key to get through here? Well, me granting permission. Well, can I have your permission? Oh, I guess so. Like, how simple is that? And it goes to show that when we are living in the ego in the state of attack, it's chaotic. But when we are coming from that place of spirit and love, it's simple. And it shows how simple it was in that moment. Also, the fact that Sarah was in spirit, she never really was afraid. She was always sure of her ability to get her brother back. It starts out way at the beginning when David Bowie's like, hey, says something about time and insinuates she doesn't have enough time to make it through this. It spans out to this massive labyrinth. And if you were in a state of fear, you'd be like, I done give up. I gave up already. But her, she's like, I can do that. And every time she goes backwards or appears further away, she's like, I can still do that. I am still going to do that because she had the faith of spirit within her. She knew that literally she could conquer the things that felt unconquerable because, in fact, it didn't really exist. This was her own narrative in her mind that she was interacting through. Okay, so she gets through the labyrinth and we get there. We get to the castle. And one of the really cool pieces here is that she says to her friends, I'm not going to quote this exactly, but essentially says, I've got to do this arrest on my own. The way this must be done is I must do it alone. And I think it's a beautiful representation of the unwinding of the mind. The journey, our journey of unwinding the mind is our own journey. It's an individual's journey. Yes, we can have people that support us, people we watch or videos or whatever, but it's not about someone telling us what exactly our journey looks like or how we should act or respond. It's about finding guidance to that we can get to our own answers within. And that's really what she did. If we look at this labyrinth as a representation of the mind, she found guidance. She had helpers along the way, people that helped guide her in the right direction. She ultimately always made the final decision, but then she gets to that final, almost the final step, and she's like, okay, I have seen this journey. I had my helpers and guides. Now it is up to me to finish this out. And I really think that's what the journey of unwinding the mind is. And that's why, if you know, I follow A Course in Miracles. I love the Course in Miracles because it's not about creating a religion or some sort of group. Instead, it's a self-study guide because it's my journey of unwinding the mind. It's your journey of unwinding the mind because there is only one here. That's for another day. So she's faced with Jareth. She gets through the labyrinth pieces, and of course, perception's in play, and she's walking through the baby and all through the stairs, all of that. And Jareth says to her, he says, I have done everything for you that you wanted. Like this sense of confusion of like, you wanted this. So at the end, she's faced with Jareth, and he says to her, he goes, he reminds her, I have done everything you wanted, which is true. She did want this, and she questioned it would be better. She questioned that the grass would be greener on the other side until it happened, and immediately she realized, oh my gosh, no, it's not. And this is true. I mean, he reiterates to her, if you just fear me, love me, and do as I say, I can offer you your dreams and everything you want. Because again, he is about the shiny objects. He is about providing the external things she is seeking, which was the removal of her brother, which is all the things. And prior to her getting to the castle, she ends up in like the landfill, and the junk lady comes with her, and she goes to her room, and she believes she has woken up and this was just a dream. And the junk lady is trying to distract her with all of these things, these shiny objects, just like we're distracted here with all of the things outside of us that we work every day to obtain, with what it was been said as paper squares and metal discs or whatever, when in fact it is just a distraction. At one point, she even says to her, she realizes that she's back in her room, and the junk lady says, don't you like your toys? And all of a sudden Sarah has this aha moment, and she's like, no, It is all junk. And she realizes, oh my gosh, I have to go find my brother. She realized that for a moment she was distracted, which is a representation of all of us all of our lives. Constantly distracted with the external achievements that are really meaningless. They're valueless. I have the video through one's journey valuing the valueless. When in fact, what is actually to be valued is that unconditional love. And she switches that, she's like, oh my gosh, which is the representation of finding her brother, because that is the representation of her unwinding the mind through the labyrinth and finding her way back home to the child she is within, the child of God that she is. Again, what Jareth says is about just fear me, worship me, and I will provide you everything you need. This is so true for the ego. As long as you continue to allow the ego to rule your life, it will always provide you with distractions outside of yourself. Will they always be comfortable ones? No, just like this. The labyrinth wasn't comfortable. He gave her the apricot, wasn't comfortable. Different scenarios, but he always gave her distractions to try to keep her from the sadness that she had let her brother go. The shame and guilt that would have manifested and taken her over if she wouldn't have chose unconditional love, or she wouldn't have chose the ego to distract her. And that is all of our journey here, my friend. Are you living in the ego distracting you? Are you choosing unconditional love and realizing that you really never made the choice you believe you did? Or are you sitting in the middle? And to me, that is a very, very hard place. I've been in that place before. It's a place of filled with shame and guilt, filled with fear and anger and pain and suffering, and just this deep internal belief of I am unworthy, I must be punished. And instead, Sarah said, no, I'm not choosing the darkness or the ego. I am choosing unconditional love because I know that to be truth. And it was represented through her brother as that inner child. And in that moment, she realizes the truth. That David, the ego, has never had power over her. The only reason why he appeared to have power over was because the entire time she was giving him that power. She was allowing herself to perceive it. And as we started this video of the ego can only exist because of your belief in it. And she realized it in that moment, and she got her brother back. And I love the ending when her father yells up the stairs. He's like, Sarah, are you home? And I always say that's the journey. We're on our journey back home, but we must unwind the mind to get there. And Sarah did it in an evening, in a holy instant. She made her way back home, and she responds yes, because she had really understood what truth was and what was truly value in her life. And the ego, Jareth, and the ego special love that she thought she wanted was not where it was at. And yeah, what a beautiful representation of what we are all doing here, what the possibility of the journey is in any moment. Even if you're not doing the grand journey of making it home, but in every moment is this constant battle between the ego and spirit. And which do you choose? Remember, friend, the ego only has power over you because you give it power, because you make it real of the belief of it. That is the fear, that is the sacrifice, that is the separation. But spirit, which is unconditional love in truth, is always there. That is your innate state, because that it just is. It just is truth. It doesn't need to be chosen. It just needs to be remembered. Oh, what a trip. Oh my gosh. I think I've been waiting to do that movie for the last 20 some years. That was my favorite movie growing up. I'm now seeing why I was so attracted to it. I think maybe because I was realizing, oh crap, that's what your life's going to look like, Ashley. A little different, but that's your journey, at least a representation of your journey. As always, please comment below. What are your thoughts? Have you watched The Labyrinth before? If you haven't, how did this video help you to understand it at a deeper level? Where in your life are you allowing the ego to have that control over you? And what things are you taking for granted? What are you seeking outside of yourself? I always say that happiness backpack, and we really see in this video that Sarah realized and pulled her happiness backpack back and took back control of what truly was worth valuing, which is that unconditional love represented through her brother. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. That was our trip today with The Labyrinth. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out the next video because I am sure you are going to love it. As always, remember you are worth it, my friend. Much love. Bye-bye.